The Princess Man is a 2011 South Korean television series, starring Park Si-hoo, Moon Chae-won, Kim Young-cheol, Song Jong-ho, Hong Soo-hyun, and Lee Soon-jae. It is a period drama about the forbidden romance between the daughter of King Sejo and the son of Sejo's political opponent Kim Jong-seo. It aired on KBS2 from July 20 to October 6, 2011 on Wednesdays and Thursdays at 21:55 for 24 episodes. Plot: the Grand Prince Sung attempts to build an alliance with his brother King Jong's trusted Prime Minister, Kim Jong-seo's family. He proposes a marriage between his eldest daughter Chae-won and Jong-seo's son, Kim Sung-yu. Learning of this, Chae-won's curiosity regarding her prospective husband is piqued. On hearing that Kim Sung-yu is going to take over as her cousin Princess Chae-won's new tutor, she persuades her to swap places with her so that she can catch a glimpse of her intended. Her first impression is not favorable and she is convinced that he is an arrogant womanizer. Later, as she attempts to master her current obsession with riding a horse, her horse runs away with her and Sung-yu arrives in the nick of time to rescue her from being thrown off a precipice. Meanwhile, Kim Jong-seo rejects Swang's proposal because he knows the prince's aspirations regarding the throne and allies himself firmly with King Jong. King Jong is impressed with Sung-yu as a capable teacher and sees merit in having him on his side as a son-in-law, who is strong enough to protect the crown prince. He announces that Sung-yu has been chosen as the prince consort. Sung-yu, who still believes Chae-won is the princess, is glad of the decision because of his growing feelings for her. Beginning to understand her passion to escape the confines of her cloistered life, he offers to teach her how to ride. Their blissful time together is cut short by an unexpected attack by bandits sent by Swang to assassinate Sung-yu as revenge against Kim Jong-seo. Sung-yu is injured and as Chae-won risks her life to save him, the chief magistrate of the capital's police bureau, Shin Myeon, chances to pass by and saves them. Shin Myeon also happens to be Sung-yu's best friend, along with Yeong-cheol, whose noble family has fallen on harsh straits. Meanwhile, Sung-yu and Chae-won meet outside the palace again. Even though Shin Myeon senses his friend's growing admiration for Chae-won, he too finds himself drawn to the brave and beautiful girl. His dilemma grows when Grand Prince Swang offers Chae-won's hand in marriage to him in the hope of building an alliance with his politician father. Chae-won learns that Sung-yu is chosen as the candidate for prince consort and is devastated. Her cousin, Princess Chae-won understands the political import of marrying Sung-yu and orders her not to meet Sung-yu again, suspecting that the two are falling in love. Meanwhile, Sung-yu and Chae-won meet outside the palace again. However, they are tailed by Swang's spies. Following their time together, Sung-yu writes a letter to Chae-won and sends it to the real princess. Chae-won, understanding that they met despite her orders, is furious. At the next lesson, she locks up Chae-won and takes her place, thereby revealing the deception to Sung-yu. However, she hides Chae-won's identity from him by calling her a palace maid who took her place. The letter discarded by Princess Chae-won falls into the hands of Swang. Using the letter, he demands that Sung-yu be disqualified as a candidate for prince consort, insinuating that he dishonored the princess by meeting her outside the palace. When interrogated, Sung-yu says he did not meet the princess outside but hides Chae-won's part in it to spare her danger. Learning of the danger to Sung-yu's life, Chae-won begs Princess Chae-won to intercede for Sung-yu. Despite her intercession, the penalty for Sung-yu's transgression is death. Swang discovers Chae-won when she secretly visits Sung-yu in prison and is horrified to learn of their dalliance. Relieved that Sung-yu does not know who she is, he agrees to save Sung-yu if she never meets him again and never reveals her identity to him. Kim Jong-seo, desperate to save his son, approaches Swang for help and agrees to pay the humiliating price of resigning his vice premiership. Sung-yu's sentence is commuted to temporary exile. In place of Sung-yu, Yeong-cheol is chosen as prince consort, bringing a drastic change in his fortunes. He is smitten with the princess from the beginning. However, she detests him. Chae-won's relationship with Chae-won is also strained, with the princess blaming her cousin for all the misfortunes she has undergone. King Jong collapses on the day of his daughter's wedding and his health takes a turn for the worse. Sung-yu is summoned back by his brother, in order to assist their father in safeguarding the interests of the king. Sung-yu runs into Se-ryung on his return but coldly severs all ties with her. However, Se-ryung's concern for her cousin coupled with the fact that Yeong-cheol is Sung-yu's friend, force the two to meet again. Both find it hard to repress their feelings and finally Sung-yu declares his love for her. However, at exactly the same time, King Jong dies. Swang and his cronies arrive at the palace, jubilant that they can now control the crown prince. However, their plans are thwarted by Kim Jong-seo, who was reinstated by dead king to protect his son from Swang's machinations. Furious, Swang vows to kill Kim Jong-seo. As Se-ryung and Sung-yu blissfully revel in their love, Swang prepares to stage a coup against Kim Sung-yu. Se-ryung stumbles on the plot too late and is foiled in her attempts to warn Sung-yu and his family by her parents. Supported by Shin Myeong, Swang ruthlessly murders his opponents, including Sung-yu's father and brother. Shin Myeong, believing that Sung-yu is dead, stops the other men from beheading him claiming he wishes to do it himself. As he is about to bury him, Shin Myeong realizes that Sung-yu is alive and attempts to kill him but fails. He turns around and leaves, giving Sung-yu the chance to escape with his life. Sung-yu wakes up and walks into the town to find that his father has been beheaded. Reeling from his best friend's betrayal, he tries to kill Swang, only to be shocked to discover that Se-ryung is his daughter. Sung-yu is sentenced to be killed. However, a last-minute intercession by the Crown Prince saves his life and he is exiled to Kaemwa Island, along with the rest of Swang's enemies. When Se-ryung visits him in prison on the eve of his exile, his fury gets the better of him and he nearly chokes her to death. Se-ryung admits her identity and begs him to survive, even if it is just so that he can kill her. En route Kaemwa Island, the ship is sunk to ensure that none of Swang's enemies survive. However, aided by a fellow prisoner, Jo Sok-ju, Sung-yu manages to escape and return. Taking refuge at the Jisaeng house Bingogwon, owned by Sok-ju, Sung-yu plots his revenge. Meanwhile, Se-ryung learns that Sung-yu's ship sank. Despite her mourning, her parents fix the date of her wedding with Shin Myeong. In an attempt to bait Swang, he kidnaps Se-ryung on the day of her wedding. He is mercilessly cruel to her, and reveals her father's part in the sinking of the ship. Swang shows up to claim his beloved daughter but he survives Sung-yu's arrow because of his armor. Meanwhile, Shin Myeong shoots an arrow at Sung-yu, which is intercepted by Se-ryung who takes the brunt of it. Shaken by her sacrifice on his behalf, Sung-yu is shell-shocked and he escapes only because Sok-ju and his friend Yeong-cheol save him by forcibly dragging him away from her prone body. Se-ryung is taken home by her father and Shin Myeong is suspicious because she took the arrow on behalf of her kidnapper. However, the encounter with Sung-yu and the kidnapping changes Se-ryung's attitude towards her father and Shin Myeong, now that she is aware of the extent to which they will go for power. Sung-yu reveals that he is alive to Yeong-cheol and he is relieved to have an ally in the fight against Swang. Foiled in his attempt to kill Swang, Sung-yu starts assassinating those who were privy to his family's murder. He leaves behind the alias of his deceased general father, Great Tiger, at each site to stir fear among his enemies. Se-ryung's attempts to atone for her father's atrocities gradually melts Sung-yu's anger, especially when he learns that she saved his sister-in-law and niece's lives in the reprisal against the members of the rebel nobles' families. Grand Prince Swang forces King Danjong to abdicate, and becomes crowned King Sejo of Joseon. Se-ryung refuses to be crowned princess and continues to bravely defy her father. Sung-yu gives up his vigilante assassinations at the behest of his old teacher, who urges him to join the larger cause of dethroning Sejo and restoring Danjong. Se-ryung inadvertently learns of the plot and is caught in a terrible dilemma. Saving her father comes at the cost of her love and vice versa. However, the rebellion which was led by 6 scholars of the Hall of Worthies, including Sung-yu's teacher fails, leading to their deaths and the exile of Princess Kyung-gi and her husband Yeong-cheol. Sung-yu manages to escape, but Shin Myeong discovers his identity. King Sejo learns that Sung-yu is alive and that Sae-ryung may have had knowledge of the plot. The rift between father and daughter grows. Sae-ryung, in a symbolic move, cuts her hair and renounces her ties to her father. When she takes refuge in a temple after leaving the palace, Sung-yu takes her with him to Bingogwon. However, when Shin Myeon and his guards nearly tear apart the place searching for her, she surrenders herself up to them. In his rage, King Sejo sentences her to become a slave of Shin Myeon. However, Sung-yu and his friends rescue her in the nick of time. Shin Myeon refuses to give up his quest to possess Sae-ryung and follows the pair to Princess Kyung-gi and Yeong-cheol's place of exile. In the course of Yeong-cheol protecting the pair, Shin Myeon comes to learn that Yeong-cheol is plotting yet another rebellion. He is arrested and executed, leaving behind a devastated and pregnant Kyung-gi. Meanwhile, in addition to their grief over the loss of Yeong-cheol, the lovers face more obstacles. The rebel leaders with whom Sung-yu continues the plan for the attack refuse to accept her, because of her link to King Sejo. Sung-yu and Sae-ryung pledge their love as husband and wife and agree to separate till the battle is over. However, when Shin Myeon plans to use Sae-ryung as bait to lure Sung-yu, she escapes and warns her husband. In the battle that follows, Shin Myeon is killed and Sung-yu's side wins. Sung-yu moves forward with his plan to assassinate the king and nearly succeeds, but for a momentary distraction caused by learning of Sae-ryung's pregnancy. Sung-yu is sent to jail, and Sae-ryung goes to see him, wanting her baby to at least know who his or her father is. Sung-yu nearly dies and Sae-ryung accepts her fate. However, Sae-ryung's mother orchestrates their escape. Years later, Sung-yu has become blind after his brush with death. However, both of them now have a lovely daughter and are happy, even if they are poor. In the backdrop of their bliss, we see an aged King Sejo who has let go of his bitterness and who watches his daughter's happiness in secret. Cast = Main characters = Moon Chae-won as Lee Se-ryung. The eldest daughter of Grand Prince Swang is a bright and sweet person, with an adventurous streak. She is also Grand Prince Swang's favorite daughter. She persuades her cousin, Princess Kyung-gi, to exchange places with her during a tutoring session by Kim Sung-yu, upon learning of her father's initial plans to arrange her marriage with him. A harmless prank to sneak a peek at her intended husband spirals out of control as they fall deeply in love with each other, ignorant of the deep and deadly political enmity that slowly develops between their fathers. As Kim Sung-yu becomes chosen by the king as a candidate for prince consort, Grand Prince Swang promises Se-ryung's hand in marriage to Shin Myeon, Kim Sung-yu's best friend. As the truth of her father's machinations and atrocities gradually dawns on her, she begins to resist her father's power and Shin Myeon's advances. However, she is trapped by the knowledge that saving Kim Sung-yu's life implies the death of her family, while the price of his life is the cost of saving them. When her father is crowned as king, Se-ryung is made a crown princess. As she learns more about her father's cruel grasp for power, she battles her loyalty to her family versus the love she bears for Sung-yu, as well as the knowledge that his cause is the right one. Park Si-woo is Kim Sung-yu. As the second son of the Premier Kim Jong-seo, he is a carefree teacher in the Royal Academy, whose main interests are having a good time with the ladies and spending time with his close friends, Shin Myeon and Yeong-cheol. According to his teacher, Sung-yu behaves like a playboy, but he is actually a great gentleman who treasures friendship and is willing to sacrifice his life for a friend. He meets his match in the spirited Se-ryung, whom he thinks is the princess, and he is drawn to her from their very first meeting. Not knowing about this deception, it seems to him that the road to love is propitious, especially when the king selects him as the candidate for prince consort. As he falls harder for her, his love for her is put to the ultimate test when he learns that she is not the princess, but rather the daughter of the man who kills his father and brother and devastates his family. After Grand Prince Swang kills his father and brother and sentences him to exile, Sung-yu escapes and transforms himself into a cold and ruthless assassin. Bent on exacting vengeance for the murder of his family, he steels his heart against his love for Se-ryung, believing that she was party to his betrayal. But though Se-ryung's selfless love and bravery move his heart, he cannot turn his back on the fight against the king, her father. Kim Jong-cheol as Grand Prince Seo-hyun. The brother of King Jong has his eyes firmly fixed on the throne. He is a ruthless politician, who will not countenance anyone standing in his way. Chae-won, his eldest daughter, is his weakness. But when she falls in love with the son of his enemy, he has no compunctions in eliminating Kim Seong-yu and his entire family. He brutally eliminates the supporters of King Dan-jong, the young son of Moon-jong, and finally forces him to abdicate the throne. He becomes King Sejo of Joseon, but is haunted by dreams of his crimes. Hong Soo-hyun as Princess Kyung-gi. Chae-won's cousin and friend is King Moon-jong's daughter, who is indulged by her father and who revels in the adulation she receives as the most beautiful woman in the land. But the sudden knowledge of her father's illness and Grand Prince Seo-hyun's political threat to her young brother, who is next in line for the throne, destroys her sheltered and uncomplicated life. Convinced of the importance of allying with Kim Jong-seo's family, she tries to separate Seong-yu and Chae-won. However, as the political machinations of Grand Prince Seo-hyun unfold, she finds herself trapped in an unwanted marriage with Yeong-cheol. But as Seo-hyun systematically destroys her allies one by one, she begins to find solace and comfort in Yeong-cheol's love. After Yeong-cheol's death, she gives birth to their child. Jong-ho as Shin Myeon. As the magistrate officer at the Capital Bureau, his work is the main passion of this quiet and serious man. He enjoys a deep camaraderie with his friends, especially sparring with Kim Seong-yu. When he saves Kim Seong-yu and Chae-won from an attack by bandits, the girl's bravery arouses his interest. What begins as a crush on his best friend's girl has devastating consequences when his father strikes an alliance with Grand Prince Seo-hyun and marriage is on the cards for both of them. Finding himself wanting Chae-won more and more, he ultimately decides to betray his own friend, even attempting to kill him. As Chae-won rejects his advances, his obsession with her grows. He becomes willing to pay any price Seo-hyun requires of him. Lee Min-woo as Yeong-cheol. This gentle and perpetually debt-ridden friend of Seong-yu and Shin Myeon, finds himself deeply in love at first sight when he crashes into a palanquin bearing the princess and is promptly slapped by her. His fortunes take a turn for the better and in an amazing twist of destiny, finds himself as the prince consort. However, his new bride, helplessly carrying the burden of her father's illness and a danger to her brother's life, initially has no time or inclination for his love. Yeong-cheol finds that he cannot remain apolitical and neutral, and he too must take a stand in the political struggle. Just as his relationship with his wife begins to improve, his life is endangered in an attempt to resist Seo-hyun. Lee Soon-jae as Kim Jong-seo. The brilliant Prime Minister and most trusted advisor of King Jong alienates Grand Prince Seo-hyun when he accepts the proposal of the king's daughter over Seo-hyun as bride for his son. He pays the price of his misalliance with his life and the destruction of his family. Supporting characters equals. Reception. Awards and nominations. International broadcast. On September 2, 2012, members of the cast, namely Park Si-hoo, Jong-ho and Hong Soo-hyun, attended a promotional concert at Tokyo International Forum to promote the airing of the series on Japanese satellite channel BNKBS. It aired in the Philippines on the GMA network from November 19, 2012 until February 7, 2013. It aired in Sri Lanka on TVD Rena under the title Sayana Kumara from April 2014. It aired in Kurdistan on Kurdsat under the title Seong-yu from April 2014. It aired in Thailand on Channel 7 under the title Jimnankabot Huaje from July 30, 2015. References. External links: The Princess Man official KBS website, The Princess Man at Han Cinema, The Princess Man at the Internet Movie Database.